Hey guys, Llama here with another Minecraft video finally. I know it's been a while, and we're finally getting back into it, full blast with the Create mod. So this is probably one of my favorite mods ever at this point. The Create mod is just unbelievable in every way, in every aspect, in my opinion. So today we're going to be looking at my furnace generator. This is currently running 8 furnaces, which is modular. You will have to make a couple of fixes if you want to make it larger, but they're honestly not that needed from everything I've seen so far using 8 furnaces. But I'm going to go over how this works, how to set it up, and some of the different information about it. This is probably one of the smallest designs that I've seen so far. I've been looking around the subreddit, I've been looking around some YouTube videos, and I haven't found too much that's smaller than this. At the very least, that's not as resource intensive. So this is pretty low down there from everything else I've seen, with most of the brass being just for the furnace generators and such, some of it for the arm, but overall, it mostly uses andesite and iron. So I wanted to go ahead and show this off, kind of how I build it and everything about it. This is the design that I actually use in our SMP, the Llama SMP, for our modded server. So if you want to know some more about our modded server and what goes on in there and such, you can always check me out on Twitch, and I can make a video in the future if you want to. So just kind of showing off the mod pack that we play with, which is a custom one. So this is the spot that we're going to be building this at. I went ahead and put all the materials that you're going to need right in this chest. There's a lot of it. So the furnace engines, the brass funnel, the mechanical arm, and the speed controller are all going to need brass, along with a crafter beforehand, and the flywheels. But everything else is going to be usable, just andesite, lumber, and such. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is set up your furnaces. So you're just going to do 8 furnaces all in a row, and that's going to be your main source of power. You want the furnace generators to be separated by one gap. That way you can put one on each side. The flywheels are very specific on the way that they set, so you cannot put them side by side. Otherwise, you'll never be able to get to this little output right here. That output is what you need to send your power wherever you're going to go. And you just set them up on both sides, and they'll auto-connect with the furnace engines. So the reason all this works is because what you're doing is you're burning logs into charcoal, and you're refreshing the charcoal back in as a fuel source. So as long as you have a good tree farm, this is infinite. It'll just keep going. You have to supply it, and spawn chunks do not grow trees, so you have to be really careful to be able to refresh all of this whenever you log on. Otherwise, it'll just stall out and everything will break. That's the biggest downside of this over like water wheels and such. But water wheels have such a low stress rating compared to these, it's just not viable to do it. So next you want to put your 8 hoppers right here onto the side of the furnaces. This is what's going to bring the charcoal in, and then your chutes. Your chutes are just going to take everything from the conveyor belts above, and it's just going to place them into the hoppers. And all these have their own inventory as well, so they'll hold a buffer along with the hoppers. Will have a charcoal buffer, so if you ever need to get charcoal, you just grab it out of the hoppers. Pretty easy. So the top set of belts that you're going to be needing is just this 2 layers right here on the top. I'll show off the bottom one in a second. I'm using a creative crate and a motor right here because this would be inputted from whatever your tree farm is, which I recommend highly setting up on water wheels because of chunk loading such. Because if this thing stalls off, because if the chunks are loaded at all times, the furnaces will always run, belts will always run, but the trees do not grow. So make sure that you have your tree farm on a water wheel setup. So you're going to want to set up this main belt right here, stopping at the last chute. Any kind of block right here, that'll just stop the items from flowing out and just popping off. And then you want to go from this first chute right here on both sides all the way one past the furnace. Otherwise it'll try to connect to this conveyor right here, and you do not want that. Otherwise these will start going in the wrong direction. So right here is going to be where you want some of the andesite funnels. You're going to be using 8 of them, 1 on each of these furnaces. This is how you drop the charcoal out, which will go into this tunnel right here. Once you get the andesite funnels, you're going to want to make a conveyor belt right under it. This conveyor belt is going to be what sends your charcoal up into the main system. Once you've done this, you're going to want to put an encased fan facing upwards, along with the rest of your chutes, which are going to go all the way up to here. This will push the items from this chute all the way up using this fan, because a fan will shoot any item that's in it up into the highest point possible. So we're going to put it into a depot just that way, so our mechanical arm, which we'll put later, will go into the right position. This is where your 1 brass tunnel is going to go. The reason I use a brass tunnel right here is just because you have such a large amount of charcoal coming out of here. If you don't use this brass tunnel, it'll only send 1 at a time through the andesite, and I've noticed it just backs up really, really fast. Even though this set accepts 1, these have a buffer, and the arm can pull it out fast enough to where this buffer is usable. And once it starts getting its flow going, it helps a lot in the end. But you can try to change it out to andesite and see what happens, but I don't guarantee that it won't back up the whole way. So now that we have this basic setup right here, this is the main unit. We're going to want to start putting down how our power comes out. And you can set this up any way you want. I personally like just going straight up and then putting the power through the top. That way I can throw it through the walls and such. This method is my personal favorite just because I can take it from this and use it anywhere I need to. So even if I want to, I can also send it out these channels right here, and the whole collective power is still going to be there. So for the mechanical arm, you basically have to just set anything that you need for this. So these orange ones, output, blue, input. So we're going to set both the conveyors to outputs and then the 1 depot to input, and it'll go back and forth between the 2, and it'll keep it pretty simple and organized. So to power basically everything left in the system, we're going to use a single speed controller along with a large gear. We're going to need some small cogwheels only for the arm, just that way it can get the power. We're going to set our speed controller all the way up to 256 because there's no reason not to use max momentum. It's going to be a large amount of stress, but you have such a huge buffer here, it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect much. For the belts down here to control the charcoal inflow and the fan, you want to go ahead and use these encased chain drives. These are very good because it'll send power into this 1 chain drive and send it to each one of these chain drives, thus giving you a good flow and only needing 1 input versus having to try and finagle it to where it reverses and everything. It just makes a single drive. You want to make sure that each of them are connected to their individual set. If you're not careful, this one right here will try to connect to this chain, and you want it to connect to the fan instead. So it's going to be a little bit confusing, so I'm just going to go in 2 different layers. You want to go ahead and set up this first layer, which has 3 of these vertical chain drives going up. This is going to give you power to the fan. You want to have another vertical on top. That's going to give power to this belt right here, along with a horizontal going into the speed controller. This is going to pull power over to here, to this tower right here. And lastly, you want another vertical right here, so that it goes down into that shaft, and that will make the belt go in the correct direction right here. So it's a little confusing, and that's one of those things you have to figure out whenever you're doing this create mod, is that just figuring out what direction things go in can be kind of difficult sometimes. And then you want 2 chain drives right here, and that'll just transfer the power over to this belt. So that runs this belt at full power, so that way you don't have to worry. And then if you go ahead and put a gear right here, that'll power this arm. And lastly, what you'll want to do, bring the power over. And this is pretty easy. You just need a chain drive right there, and that'll power everything in the system. I have it currently powered by a single creative motor, only because I haven't started up the engine yet. So now that we have everything up and running, everything's connected, this right here is one of the main shafts that I like to use. This just connects it together so that it's a single unit, and then you just take these shafts and you just go out from it. This is how I transfer power over at the community area on the Llama SMP, is by this simple mechanism right here. You don't have to do this. If you wanted to, you could even send it out from here. I just like sending up one just so I can get past the arm and get past whatever I'm inputting, but that's completely up to you. This is personal preference right here, as long as they are going in the same direction. If you have them in the opposite direction, they will break. You don't want to do that. So I went ahead and just put oak logs in. It doesn't matter what you do. I just need something to put into this crate. So as you can see, it's gonna go in. You do need a bit of charcoal, and I'll grab some logs for it. You just need something to start the process. As the process begins, it'll completely become self-sustaining as it fills up. So after a bit of testing, you can use chutes right here. If you want to go that cheaper route, it saves a little bit of andesite just because you don't need to make 4 funnels, you only need to make 2 chutes. That's completely up to you. That is personal preference. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful as well. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. If there's anything that I missed, anything you want to know. This is what I consider an 8-cylinder engine. So this is modular. You can build it up as far as you want. If you guys want to see, I can make a short showing just the absolute extent of this system. And on the Llama SMP, I actually plan on making 3 more of these for our entire base, just because we use a lot of power overall. So you can see right here, this is our information on it. 131,000 SU. That is an unbelievable amount. That is, if you fill that up, honestly, you have a lot of machines going. We use a lot at ours, but as well, we want things to go fast. So when you have something that's a high stress rate, you want it to go fast, and it uses a lot of stress really, really quick. But guys, I do hope this was informative. If you have any questions, do let me know. I also stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So if you ever want to talk create, or you just want to come and hang out, if you want to see more videos like this in the future, I plan to do some more. So I hope you do look out for that. And if you do enjoy the videos, go ahead and subscribe. That means a ton. And like the video. That helps out a lot. And I hope to see y'all in the next video. Goodbye!